You do solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in the case now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right. Officer Bagley, if you wouldn't mind having a seat at the witness table. And after you're situated, to your left is a bottle of water. And if you wouldn't mind bringing the microphone toward you to ensure that it picks up your voice.
Can you hear that?
I can. Thank you. Mr. Grunander, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Will you please state your name for the record and spell your last name?
Christopher Bagley, last name spelling B-A-G-L-E-Y.
And how are you employed?
I'm employed with the Spanish Fork Police Department as a police officer.
As a police officer. What is your position or your rank there?
Just a senior officer.
Senior officer, okay. How long have you been with the Spanish Fork Police Department?
About 5 months.
5 months. How long have you been a police officer?
26 years.
Okay. Will you briefly describe, for the court's benefit, your training, what you did to become a police officer?
I did the Utah Post Academy, which is about 600 hours of training for basic things to become a police officer, report writing, arrest control, stuff to that effect. When
you say Post Academy, is Post an acronym?
It is.
What does that stand for?
Police Officer Standard Training.
Okay. Were you certified through Post?
I was.
Okay. And what did that certification require?
Going through that Post and graduating, all the academy, all the credits that you could get it with hours, and then physical fitness, stuff to that effect, and then graduating from that to earn the certificate.
Was there also testing involved?
There was.
At the academy?
Yes.
Okay. Were you employed in September of 2025?
I was.
And where were you employed then?
Utah Valley Police Department.
And how long did you work for the Utah Valley University Police Department?
5 years.
5 years, okay. And do you recall what your position or your rank was there?
A senior officer there.
Senior officer, okay. Describe, if you would, just your general duties as a police officer at Utah Valley University.
There at Utah Valley University, we'd patrol the campus, we'd walk around, we'd patrol, we would do investigations if there was crimes to that effect. We'd make sure that students or staff, if they needed something, we'd be there for them. So basic police, kind of like a school resource officer, community-oriented policing.
Okay. Was this a full-time position?
It was.
Okay. Did you work in law enforcement prior to UVU?
I did.
And where did you work?
I worked at Utah County Sheriff's Office for 13 years. Before that, I worked with the Springville City Police Department for 6 years, and also with the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office for a year.
What were your positions with those departments?
Varies. I did K-9, I did SWAT, I did motors, senior officer, FTO officer, detectives.
Okay. While you were at Utah Valley University, did you have access to the video surveillance system on campus?
Yes, I did.
And how so?
It was at our desktop where our police station is. We have desks, and on our desktops we'd have access to it there. Or we'd go into dispatch and they'd have a wall full of camera systems that we could look at.
How familiar did you become with that system?
Very familiar.
Can you describe how you became very familiar?
Like I said, it was one of our daily routines that we'd go in there. If we were looking for somebody or tracking something back, we'd go in. We'd go back to that time frame. We could trace somebody or track somebody through campus. I'd also turn around and make some maps, so it was easier for dispatch or somebody to click on an area in the campuses where the buildings were and be able to click a little bit easier and get a faster response. So made some maps and stuff like that.
And how often did you use this system?
Every day.
Okay. Did you become familiar with the campus at Utah Valley University when you were working there?
Yes.
And explain how you became familiar with it.
Like I said, we'd walk around. I would train other officers. We'd make sure that we knew all the ins and outs, the back doors. We'd make sure we knew where every classroom was, where every entrance and exit was. We'd secure the building. We patrol the neighborhoods. We patrol around campus. And then we also have off-site campuses that we drive to and make sure that they're secure also.
Okay. You mentioned that you patrol the neighborhoods?
Yes.
Surrounding campus?
Yes.
What about the neighborhood to the north and east of campus?
Yes.
Okay. What was your purpose for patrolling those neighborhoods as an officer for UVU?
One, it was right next to UVU, so we patrolled it. Sometimes people would run up in that area or be walking up that way. We'd have stolen bikes, stuff like that. So we'd go into the areas, look for stuff. Also, with Orem Police Department, we'd go back up them quite a bit for other calls, and a lot of it would be in the area.
Okay, so back up just a little bit. So Utah Valley University is located in what city?
Orem, Utah.
Orem, Utah. Okay. How familiar did you become with the buildings on campus
Very familiar.
and the walkways?
Very familiar.
You mentioned the entrances and exits to the buildings.
Yes.
What about parking structures?
Yes.
Same answer for that?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with the courtyard or the outdoor amphitheater on campus?
I am.
And generally speaking, where is that located on campus?
It's more of the central, it's an outdoor area centered by a bunch of buildings on around it. So it's in the center of the campus pretty much.
Okay, can you describe what it looks like, this courtyard, this amphitheater?
It's kind of like an amphitheater look. So you got some grass and a couple of steps that go up. You've got some cement on top with some bushes and flowers. You've got places where people can sit and eat. They come out and study and relax on the grass. And there's a waterfall with a little pond that comes down into a stream. So.
Okay. Are you familiar with the surroundings, the buildings around the amphitheater?
Yes, I am.
Okay. In relationship to this amphitheater, this courtyard, where is the Hall of Flags located?
It would be directly west of the courtyard.
Okay. Is it part of the courtyard or is it just off of the courtyard?
It's kind of the courtyard. It like butts up right against the courtyard, so it would be the west side of the courtyard.
Okay, so to the west of the courtyard. Is there a walkway across the Hall of Flags?
There it is.
Okay,
There's an
and
inside one and an outside one.
Okay, so what is the Hall of Flags then?
The Hall of Flags is kind of like a bridge between two buildings that all the flags throughout the world are represented in there with some chairs where people sit down and relax with windows so you can see through all the way to the Utah Lake.
Okay. What are those two buildings that are connected by this Hall of Flags?
The Fugal Building over to like the Science Building area.
Okay, so you mentioned the Fugal Building.
Yes.
Where is the Fugal Building located in relationship to this courtyard?
It's to the south of the courtyard.
Okay. Does it run up against the courtyard?
It does.
The building, okay. What about the Woodbury Business Building? Where is that in relationship to the courtyard?
It's kind of southeast and it runs up right against the courtyard also.
Okay, and in relationship to the Fugal Building, where's that Sorensen? Or excuse me, that business building, the Woodbury Business Building?
Woodbury Business is right directly east of the Fugal.
Okay. What about the Sorensen Center? Where is that located with respect to this courtyard?
The Sorensen Center is going to be kind of like a northeast of the courtyard.
Okay. Does it, again, run up against this courtyard?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And where is it in relationship to the business building?
The Woodbury Business Building is just directly south of the Sorensen.
Directly south. Okay. The Losee Center, are you familiar with that building?
I am.
And where is it located on campus?
Directly east of the courtyard amphitheater area.
Okay. Does it run up to the courtyard? The Losee Center?
No, not really.
Okay,
It doesn't
so-
run right up against it. So the Sorensen Building is kind of like right between those two.
Okay. In relationship to the Sorensen building, what direction is the Losee building?
East.
East, okay. Are you familiar with the LDS Institute building on campus?
Yes, I am.
And where is that located?
That is going to be located north of the Losee Building and just kind of like northeast of the courtyard.
Okay. And is there a parking structure next to this Institute building?
Yeah, there is.
And where is that?
That is going to be, so you mentioned the Institute Building. It's going to be north of the Losee Center. There is a parking structure that has several levels of parking. It's going to be directly west of the Institute Building. And then they also have a parking lot to the north of that across the road.
Okay. With respect to the parking structure,
Okay.
can you describe for the court how one would enter this parking structure driving, and even walking? How do you enter and exit that structure?
So on the north end of the parking structure is Campus Drive. You can drive in and exit on the level 1, so that's the ground level. That's where you'd enter if you're driving in or exiting back out on campus. Then it goes up to level 2, and on level 2, exit is what's called Heat Plant Road. In between the Institute building and the garage is a little road, and there's an exit right there that you can drive out. You can also, if you were to park in there, you could walk out right there at that exit only where I was talking about on that southeast side. You can walk out there, or on the north end of that garage, there are some stairs that go up all the levels, and it goes down to the bottom level and across the street through a tunnel to the LDS Institute building. And then when you pop up on level 2, you can walk over to the Institute building.
Okay. Can you describe how long of a walk it would take from that parking structure to get to the courtyard on campus, approximately?
A couple of minutes, because when you go to that far southeast exit, you can walk directly almost to the courtyard. You can also walk along the south end of the LDS Institute building up towards the Losee building.
Okay. Officer, I'm going to turn your attention to State's Exhibit number 1. It should come up on your monitor there. Let me know when you can see that.
I can see it.
Just for staff, let's go ahead and not publish it until it's admitted into evidence, so we're going to take it off the monitors. But for the witness, he should be able to see the exhibit. That's fine. So table monitors, witness, but not the main monitor. Thank you. All right, Mr. Grunander, thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Do you see that's Plaintiff's Exhibit number 1, Officer?
I do.
And do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
This is an area of the buildings plus the courtyard in the middle, is all the grassy area. So this is an area of the campus at Utah Valley University.
Is it a photograph?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you familiar then with what's depicted in this photograph?
Yes, I am.
Does it fairly and accurately portray this area of campus?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Can you tell the court what direction the camera is facing when this photograph was taken?
It's kind of facing north and a little to the east.
Okay. Does it depict a number of the buildings that we've talked about today?
Yes, it does.
For example, the Hall of Flags, does it show the Hall of Flags?
Yes, it does.
The walkway of the Hall of Flags? What about the Sorensen Center? Does it show that?
Yes, it does.
The Woodbury Business Building?
Yes, it does.
The Fugel Building?
Yes.
What about the Losee Center? Can you see that from this photograph?
Yes.
Is this photograph a fair and accurate depiction of this area of UVU campus on September 10th, 2025?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state offers State's Exhibit 1.
Your Honor, we would object to failure to lay a foundation for, oh, I'm sorry.
It is a little bit tricky because that microphone.
Sorry about that.
Ms. Nestor.
Your Honor, we would object to inability to authenticate. There's not been a foundation laid that this officer took this photo, can verify when it was taken, or by whom it was taken, so we would object.
Mr. Grunander.
Would you like us to argue now or approach the bench?
Well, as it relates to this, I'll hear argument.
Okay. Judge, first of all, it's very clear, well-established law that the person who took the photograph is not required to be present to lay the foundation for it. What's required for foundation is that the witness has knowledge of what's depicted in the photograph and can testify to its accuracy. And that's exactly what this officer has done. We laid an ample amount of foundation about this area of campus. He's confirmed that it depicts this area of campus that was previously described. He confirmed the buildings that he can see there. He also confirmed that it was an accurate depiction of this on September 10th, 2025.
Thank you. Any further argument, Ms. Nestor? And Mr. Grunander?
We did file a standing objection at the very beginning of the hearing. I would just refer to our standing objection as well. I know this is not there's no written testimony in this, but just out of an abundance of caution, I want to also refer to our standing objection.
Thank you, Ms. Nestor. All right, having considered the arguments, I find I'm going to overrule the objection and admit Exhibit 1. This witness has firsthand knowledge of the location as well as the building locations. That foundation has been laid. He also stated it was a fair and accurate representation of what's being depicted here, and for those reasons, the defense objection is overruled. States Exhibit 1 is admitted into evidence and may be published to the courtroom.
Okay. So the state would move to publish that to the courtroom.
It is so granted.
Officer Bagley, are you able to see the monitor that's here in the court that's pointed towards the gallery?
Yes.
From where you're seated, are you comfortable in describing where the courtyard is on that photograph, on that exhibit?
Yes.
And for the record, where is that located?
So all the grass that looks like a triangle, the amphitheater look, that is going to be the courtyard amphitheater area. It's got the tent in it, the white tent that's at the bottom on the far left of the picture. That would be the courtyard area. It's surrounded by buildings, more of the grass area.
I'm going to approach the photo. Well, I'm just going to. When you look at this exhibit to the left of the photograph, there's a walkway there. What is that walkway?
So the red brick walkway that is going north to the top of the picture on the far left is going to be the Hall of Flags, the outside top of it.
Okay. On the bottom of this photograph, there's a white roofed building. It's the largest building, at least as far as what's depicted on this exhibit.
Yes.
What building is that?
That would be the Fugal building.
Okay, and just to the right of that, so that would be to the east of the Fugal building. What building is that?
The other red brick pathway area, that is the Woodbury business building.
Okay. And if I were to walk north, so left on this photograph with respect to that red brick walkway area, there's another building, sort of triangular in shape, the rooftop. What building is that?
With that white rooftop, that would be the Sorensen building.
That's the Sorensen building. And what about the Losee building? You've described that. Where is that located on this photograph?
If you go to that triangle white roof, if you go directly to the right, so the right side of the picture, that is going to be the Losee building. It's got several levels.
Is it to the right and up a little bit as
Yes.
well? Okay, and that would be east on this photograph, is that
And
correct?
it's got the gravel rooftop.
Gravel rooftop, okay. I referred you to the LDS Institute building. Are you able to see that in this photograph?
Yes, you are.
And where is that located?
That's going to just be directly north of the Losee building. It's going to be that other white roofed building on the far top of the picture.
Okay. Thank you, officer. We can take that down, Your Honor, as far as the publication. Officer Bagley, I'm going to take you back to the date of September 10th, 2025. Do you recall that day generally?
I do.
Were you working that day
Yes, I was.
at UVU?
I was, yes.
Okay. Do you remember what time your shift started approximately?
Yes, it approximately started about 11 o'clock in the morning.
11 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
Okay. Did you receive a specific assignment shortly after coming on to duty?
Yes, I did.
And what was that assignment?
It was to secure the top of the Hall of Flags on the south end. So we had people that were gathering on top of that were looking down on top of the tent. So we wanted to secure that area. So I was put up on top of the Hall of Flags on the south end.
Okay. My apologies, Your Honor. Could we have Exhibit 1 published again?
Let's go ahead and republish State's Exhibit 1. Thank you.
You mentioned that you were securing the south end of the walkway on top of the Hall of Flags.
Yes.
And so where do we find that in this exhibit, officer?
So if you can see the tent, the white tent, there's that rooftop where the red brick is. I was on top of that, and there's some, actually looks like yellow crime scene tape. That was some of our barriers that we put up so people wouldn't go above that and walk. So I was sitting right by those flower plants that were by the Fugal on the south end.
So is the south end on the bottom of this photograph?
Yes.
Where that walkway kind of begins from the bottom?
Yes.
And you've referred to a tent. Is that the white object we see inside the courtyard?
Yeah, that square white object with the tent.
Okay, thank you. So you were securing that area.
Yes.
Did you have the opportunity that morning? You mentioned you checked on about 11 o'clock.
Yes.
that morning and later to walk around campus that day?
Yes,
Did you walk along the Hall of Flags that day,
I did.
that walkway?
Yes.
Did you visit the courtyard that day as well?
Down below, yes, on the south end. I was down there.
Okay. Let's see. Officer, I'm going to turn your attention to State's Exhibit number 2. And that should come up on your monitor there. Let me know when you see that, if you would.
Your Honor, if we could maybe not have it on the lectern screen, we're getting reports that the documents shown on the lectern screen are being live streamed. So maybe if we could just not show that one until it's admitted.
Mr. Grunander?
I'll submit it to the court, Judge. I've got copies of these for myself
Okay.
that I can refer to as I'm asking questions.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and grant the request by Ms. Nestor. We'll go ahead and there should be a power button to turn it off.
Not sure where that's at.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're good.
And if at any point, Mr. Grunander, you do need to use the monitor, let's revisit that. And obviously, Ms. Nestor, you can renew your objection if needs be. But for now, the monitor's turned off. Let's go ahead and proceed.
Thank you. Officer, do you see State's Exhibit number 2 on your monitor?
Yes, I do.
And do you recognize that?
I do.
And what is that?
This is a picture of from the east side looking west of the campus.
Okay. Are you familiar with what's depicted in this photograph?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And does it show, for example, the Losee Center that we've talked about?
Yes, it does.
Does it depict the Woodbury Business Building that we've talked about?
Yes.
What about the Fugal Building?
Yes.
Does it show the Sorensen Center
Yes.
and also the Hall of Flags?
Yes.
In this particular exhibit, can you also see the courtyard?
I can. A partial of it.
A partial of it? Okay. Does it fairly and accurately depict this area of campus of UVU on September 10th, 2025?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, the state offers State's Exhibit number 2.
Your Honor, we renew our standing objection. We also argue that a foundation hasn't been laid in terms of the time this was taken or who took it, and at what point in time this was created and how. So I don't think he has any personal knowledge of that, and we'd object.
Mr. Grunander?
Same arguments, Judge. He has testified that he's familiar with it. He has personal familiarity with it. He's testified that it's fair and accurate as of the day of September 10th, 2025. And that's what was asked of him.
All right. I will go ahead and overrule the objection by defense, noting that the witness has laid, he has expressed that this is a fair and accurate representation of what it purports to be, and he's familiar with it. He was there on the day, on September 10th, and because that foundation has been laid, State's Exhibit 2 is admitted and may be published.
Thank you, Judge. State moves to publish Exhibit 2.
All right.
Officer, I'm going to direct your attention to this exhibit on the monitor facing the gallery of the court today.
Okay.
Can you describe, there's a large building in the middle of that photograph, slightly above the middle, but what building are we looking at there?
You're looking at the top of the rooftop of the Losee building. It's got two different grays, like a lighter gray and a darker gray, kind of.
Are you familiar with that rooftop then?
Yes, I am.
And what's it made of?
It's made of gravel.
Gravel, okay. You mentioned 2 different grades, or did you say grays?
Grays.
Grays, okay,
Yeah, grays.
all right. Now, you described that you could see the courtyard, but it wasn't easily visible in this photograph. Where is the courtyard located on the State's Exhibit number 2?
So you got the white roof that's going to be in the middle, just to the top of the building where the Losee is. I described there's a white roof there. That's the Sorensen building. And it's just below that, you can see some grass, and that's where the courtyard is. It's just to the left of that white roof.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask if the witness could actually come down from the stand and point out where the courtyard is located in this exhibit for the court's benefit.
All right, do we have a second microphone so it picks up his voice? Okay, Ms. Nestor, thank you for allowing us. Officer, you may step down, approach the monitor, and I would ask that you speak into the microphone when responding to a question.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
So, officer, for our benefit, would you describe again where the Losee Center is in this photograph?
The Losee Center is going to be this one with the gray roofs. It's got two different colors of gray.
Two different colors of gray. Okay. I'm blind. I can't see those two different colors from here, but can you describe where the court, looks like we went blank.
There we go.
Can you point to where the courtyard is located on that exhibit?
The courtyard is going to be here where this grass is in this area right here.
Okay. And what about the Fugal building?
Hugo building is going to be this building right here.
And the Woodbury Business Building then?
Woodbury is going to be this one right here with this red brick path.
And the Sorensen Center?
Sorensen Center is going to be this white roofed one that's right here.
Okay. Now, on this exhibit, can you see the LDS Institute building and the parking structure that we've talked about?
No, not really. You got the back side of the Institute building, which is right here, and the parking structure's over there. So
Okay.
you can't see it in this.
Mr. Gernander, let me stop you just for the benefit of the record, because the record is picking up the audio. When you're pointing it to, and I know it may be a little bit laborious to do this, but as you're identifying, indicate the general location on it, the left side, right side, middle, upper, lower, just so the record knows to some degree where you're pointing, and that way, because the video isn't being captured, so if you would do that, it just creates a more complete record.
Yes.
Thank you.
Understood. That's fair. Thank you, Judge. So again, let's point to the courtyard, and if you'll describe as best you can where that is located on the photograph.
On this photograph, the courtyard is going to be this grass area that's going to be towards the top of the picture. The baseball field's behind it. It's closer to the surrounding buildings. There's some grass in there. That would be the courtyard area.
Okay, we've talked about the Hall of Flags and the walkway above that hall. Where is that located on this photograph?
The Hall of Flags is going to be right by the courtyard, just to the west of it. There's a red brick towards the top of the picture. There's a red brick pathway that goes from the Fugal building, which is on the left of the picture, towards the right of the picture, which is the science building area.
Okay, and then the Sorensen Center, is that the building in the middle with the large white roof?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of towards the upper part of the picture, middle of it. It's going to be a white roof. That will be the Sorensen Center.
And just to the north and east of the courtyard?
Yes, north and east.
Okay, and then finally, if you would describe the Losee building, the location of that on this exhibit.
The Losee building is going to be pretty much in the middle on the right side, so middle to the right. It's going to have two different colors of gray, a darker gray and a lighter gray. There's a red pathway, and that will be the Losee Center.
Okay. You mentioned, officer, that there were different stories on the Losee building. How many stories does the Losee building have?
There's 4.
4 stories? Okay. You mentioned that you were familiar with the rooftop. Do you know how to gain access to the rooftop of the Losee building?
Yes, there's actually an outside stairway right here that comes up. It's going to be just to the south of Losee building. There's a red pathway right directly in the middle of the picture. Off to the south of that, on the left side of the picture, is an outdoor stairway.
Is that open to the public?
It is.
And how would someone access the roof from that stairway?
If they came up, they would put them right here on this pathway that goes between the Losee Center and down towards the computer science building. There's a red pathway. There's actually a little handrail, like a little guardrail, probably about a couple feet high, that somebody could jump over.
Is that area restricted? Is it off limits?
Yes, it is. There's kind of like a natural barrier with the guardrail, and from there on, there's no path. It's gravel roof, so it's not paved like everything else.
But someone could hop over that railway?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, officer. You can take your seat again.
Thank you.
Officer Bagley, I'm now going to refer you to your attention to State's Exhibit number 3. That's going to come up on your monitor as well. Let me know when you see that.
Yes, I do see it.
Okay. And do you recognize that?
I do.
And what is that?
This is a drone picture of the campus, more of the courtyard, looking eastward.
Okay. I've asked you about several buildings on campus. I'm going to ask you about those same buildings, whether they're depicted in this exhibit, okay?
Okay.
Do you see where the Hall of Flags is located?
Yes, I do. It's down towards the bottom. It's a red brick pathway. It would be the Hall Flags.
Okay. What about the Fugal building?
Hugo Building's going to be to the right of the picture. It's going to be a white roof building off to the right, directly south of the courtyard.
And the Woodbury Business Building? Where's that at?
Woodbury is going to be another red path. That's going to be just to the east of the Fugal Building. It's got a gray roof and some red path.
The Sorensen Center?
Sorensen Center is going to be on the left of the picture. It's going to have a white roof, different levels, and that would be the Sorensen Center.
Okay. The Losee Center, where's that located in relationship to the Sorensen Center that you've described?
Of the Sorensen Center, it's going to be just directly east of the Sorensen Center towards the top of the picture. You can see the two different colors of gray of the gravel that's on the roof.
Okay. And can you see the courtyard in this photograph?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Is this picture a fair and accurate depiction of this area of Utah Valley University's campus on September 10th, 2025?
Yes.
State offers Exhibit 3, Your Honor.
Your Honor, we renew the standing objection. We also object again that this individual can't identify when the picture was made or how it was made or by whom.
Mr. Gernander.
Same response, Judge. And just for the record, I was also point the court to State v. Purcell, which is a Supreme Court case here in the state of Utah, 1985, which essentially stands for the proposition that if a competent witness with personal knowledge of the facts represented in a photograph can testify that that photograph accurately represents those facts, the exhibit's admissible. He's also spoke about the date being September 10th, 2025. The showing that's required here is essentially a prima facie showing. We're not required to show proof beyond a reasonable doubt, for example, that it was accurate that day or even a preponderance of the evidence. But we'll submit it on that, Judge.
All right, I'm just taking a brief glance at the case you cited.
I can give the citation if Your Honor would like.
If you have that, I'd appreciate that.
It's 711 Pacific 2nd, 243. And I'm looking at page number 245.
All right. The court finds that the witness is familiar with the scene. He testified that it is a fair and accurate representation of what State's Exhibit 3 purports to be, and the court finds that necessary foundation has been laid and overrules the objection. State's Exhibit 3 may be admitted, is admitted, and may be published.
State would move to publish State's Exhibit 3.
All right.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Officer, if you would come down into the well of the court, I'm going to ask you a few questions about this Exhibit 3 as well.
Okay.
Can you point out where the Hall of Flags is located and describe that for the record?
The Hall of Flags is going to be down here on the bottom of the picture. It's going to have a red brick pathway with some flowers along the top of it.
You mentioned that you were securing an area of that.
Yes.
That hall, that walkway. Where were you stationed?
I was down here by the end of the flower pots, which is down here on the south side towards the Fugal Building on the far right of the picture.
Okay. In relationship to where you were stationed, where is the Fugal Building then?
The Fugal Building is just to the right of me, so it would be on the south end of me,
Okay. And so it's on the right side of the photograph there?
far right side of the photograph, yes.
What about the business building?
The business building is just going to be in the middle of the picture on the far right. It's going to have some red brick pathways. It's going to be multi-level, and that would be the Woodbury building.
Okay. The Sorensen Center, where is that located on the photograph?
Sorensen Center is going to be middle to far left of the picture. It's going to have a white roof on top of it, multi-level.
Okay. And the Losee Center, where is that located?
Losee Center is going to be towards the top of the picture, kind of off-centered a little bit, but it's going to have the 4 or 5 floors that are, the 4 floors that are sitting right there.
Okay. Can you describe those stories, what we're looking at? Where do you find 1, 2, 3, 4, and possibly 5?
So this is ground level where the courtyard is. So this, as you go over in towards the Losee building inside, there's an elevator that would be ground 1, level
Okay.
1. Level 2 would be the second one where these red ATVs are sitting on the grass right there in the middle of the picture. If you go up from that, that would be the 3rd level, and your 4th level, which is the actual top level of the building, is that very top one with the windows that you can see.
Okay. Is there an atrium on the top of that?
There is an atrium. It's got a little sphere on the top of it. It looks like a little square right on top of the Losee building. That would be an atrium.
Now, you mentioned 2 shades of gray on the rooftop of the Losee building.
Yes,
Can you see that on this exhibit?
I can. So where the
Okay.
atrium is a lighter gray gravel, and on the west side, because I'm looking east, on the west side, there's 2 ventilations for the Losee building, 2 vents on top of that. It's in the darker gray
Okay.
gravel.
You mentioned you're familiar with the rooftop of the Losee Center, correct?
Yes.
When someone is standing on the Losee Center, can they see down into the courtyard?
Yes, they can.
And where is the courtyard located from
It's
the
going to
rooftop?
be in the center of the picture with the grass and the atrium-style steps.
Would that be west of the Losee Center then?
Yes, it would be directly west of the Losee Center.
Okay. Now, in a couple of the other exhibits, we saw a tent that was down, set up in the courtyard. Can you see that tent set up in the courtyard in this photograph?
You cannot in this picture. You can't. It would be where I explained where the hall flags is. It's directly underneath the hall flags, like just on the grass right there.
Okay. Is there a clear line of sight between the tent and the top of the Losee Center, the rooftop?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Is some of it obstructed?
Yes.
Obstructed by what?
The Sorensen building that's right here, this white roof that's going to be, this kind of obstructs a little bit of the view of the courtyard.
So where would you have to be standing or perhaps lying down on the Losee Center to see into the courtyard where that tent was?
On the far south side of the Losee building, you could have a line of sight towards the courtyard.
And that's the top roof
The top roof, yes.
with the darker shade of gray that
Yes.
you see? Okay. Thank you, officer. I am going to refer the witness now to State's Exhibit number 35. And Officer Bagley, when you see that, go ahead and let me know. Do you recognize what that is, officer?
I don't have it yet.
Oh, okay. So we don't have this in electronic form? We do, okay. Well, I'll refer you to the exhibit that's to your left and behind you. Do you see that?
I do.
And it's marked as State's Exhibit 35 with a yellow sticker, is that correct?
Yes, I can see that on top left of the photo.
Well, for the record, if we can publish that on the witness's screen.
Thank you, Mr. Gernander. I was just going to mention that we shouldn't display it until it's been admitted in, so.
Do you see State's Exhibit 35 in your monitor?
Yes, I do.
Okay, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
This is an aerial view of the campus and the northeast area just north of the campus neighborhoods of Utah Valley University in Orem.
Okay. And how can you personally tell that this is a photograph of the campus and the neighborhood to the northeast of campus?
I can tell because I recognize all the buildings, the roads that are around it, the streets, the roundabouts, the neighborhood to the north or towards the top of the building or picture also.
Now, I've asked you about several buildings and landmarks on campus. Are you able to see the courtyard on this exhibit?
Yes, you are.
And just for the record, can you describe where this is located on the exhibit?
So right in the center towards the bottom, there's a white triangle roof. That's white. That would be the Sorensen building. It's the patch of grass that's just directly south of towards the bottom of that on the picture. So it's kind of centered, but more towards the bottom, right in the middle.
On this exhibit, are you able to see the Fugal building?
Yes, I am.
And in relationship to this courtyard, where is that located?
That's going to be south of the courtyard with the white roof.
What about the Woodbury Business Building?
Woodbury Business Building is going to be to the east, and it's going to have a red brick path top.
Okay. Can you see the Hall of Flags on this?
Yes, you can.
And where is that located in relationship to the courtyard again?
It's directly west of the courtyard.
And the Losee Center. Can you see the Losee Center?
Yes, you can see the Losee
Where's
Center.
that at?
It's going to be kind of northeast of the courtyard. The two patches of gray that's almost in the center of the picture, just to the slight right of the center.
Okay. I've asked you previously about the LDS Institute building. Can you see that on this exhibit?
Yes, you can.
And where is that located in relationship to the Losee Center?
It's directly north of the Losee Center. It's got a white roof, and it's almost directly in the center of the photo.
Okay. And as we've talked about a parking structure that's nearby the Institute building, do you see that?
Yes, it's just to the west or left side of the picture of the Institute building.
Okay. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of Utah Valley University's campus and the surrounding neighborhood to the north and east on September 10th, 2025?
Yes.
State offers State's Exhibit 35.
Your Honor, renew the standing objection and object on the grounds that there's no indication on this photograph of when it was taken in terms of relation to the actual incident at issue here.
Thank you, Ms. Nestor. Mr. Granado.
Same response, Judge, but I would just add one more case for the court's benefit. This is State v. Wager, or Wager, W-A-G-E-R. This is a Utah Court of Appeals case from 2016. The citation is 372 Pacific 3rd, 91. And the significance of this case, Your Honor, at issue there was a photograph of the defendant there who was smoking methamphetamine allegedly in his bathroom. The witness that was testifying, that laying the foundation at trial, was not present when the photograph was taken, could not tell the date on which it was taken, but he had been in the bathroom before, was familiar with the defendant's bathroom and familiar with the defendant. He testified to that personal knowledge, and the court found that was sufficient foundation. So that case, in addition to the other case, the Purcell case, and my previous arguments, and I'll submit it to the court.
Ms. Nestor, anything else you wish to add?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Given the testimony of the witness who's testified he's familiar with this location, he went in detail describing the various neighborhoods and location. He mentioned the roundabout and identified the buildings in State's Exhibit 35. And it was noted that it is a fair and accurate representation of this campus as of September 10th, 2025. The court is going to overrule the objection, and State's Exhibit 35 is admitted into evidence and may be published.
Thank you, Judge. The state moves to publish it, and if granted, may I approach the exhibit?
You may.
Officer, I've asked you about a number of the buildings located on campus. I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions about those and to help orient the court to what the judge is looking at, and then ask you about some of the streets in the neighborhood, okay?
Okay.
For the court's benefit, can you point out where the LDS Institute building is?
Yes, I can.
And I'm going to approach the witness again if you could describe where it's at on that Exhibit 35.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So you want the LDS Institute building? Is what you're
Yes,
asking?
please.
That is this white roof right here is the Institute building.
Is that in basically the center of the exhibit?
It's almost exactly in the center of the exhibit.
Okay, and where is the Losee Center located on that?
If you were to go down towards the bottom of the photo, there's two different grades of gravel on this roof. This would be the Losee building right here,
So below the Institute building and to the right slightly.
slightly to the right.
Can you point out for the court's benefit where the courtyard is?
The courtyard is going to be to the west or left side of the picture. There's some grass in between two buildings that have a white roofs. There would be a grass area right there with some steps. That is going to be the courtyard area, and that's going to be down towards the center bottom of the photo.
So that's to the left and down.
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned the parking structure. Where's the parking structure next to the Institute building?
There's two Institute buildings right here in the center with the white roof. The parking structure is going to be just to the left of the Institute or west side. There's a road in between it called the Heat Plant Road, which is the road that goes between those two.
And can you point out for the court's benefit how one would enter that or exit that parking structure by way of vehicle or walking?
By entering, you can enter and exit right here on the north side of the parking structure. There's an entrance and exit right here. That's
For a
into level
vehicle?
one
For a vehicle?
for vehicles.
And I guess someone could walk in there as well.
Yes, if they were to park into this LDS Institute parking lot over here on the north side of that, there's a tunnel that goes underneath the road that still comes out into the parking structure itself. And then they can exit out here on the second level onto Heat Plant Road, which is that road between the LDS Institute building and the parking structure is the Heat Plant. They can exit there and go back towards Campus Drive. So you could walk out either up here on the northeast side of the parking structure and cross over to the LDS Institute, or you can come out here to the southeast side and you can exit there and walk down to the courtyard or behind the LDS Institute building towards the Losee Center.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned Campus Drive. Where's Campus Drive located on that?
Campus Drive starts right up here towards the top left of the picture. It's almost like a T. And it's the curved road that comes all the way down in front of the Institute building and the parking structure. And it goes all the way around campus, comes back down to the bottom of the picture where the roundabout is, and that would be Campus Drive.
Okay. Are you familiar with where 800 South is in Orem?
Yes.
Is that depicted on this exhibit?
It is.
Where's that at?
It's at the top of this photo. It's going to be the long straight road. That's right here at the top of the photo.
Okay. What about 850 South? Are you familiar with that street?
I am. 850 South is going to be towards the right of the photo, top right of it. There's going to be a street that goes east to west. It looks like a horseshoe, kind of. It's going to be the road that goes east to west. In the middle of that horseshoe would be 850.
Okay, so 850 is parallel to 800 South.
Yes.
And just below on this photograph.
Yes,
Okay. Are you familiar with 600 West?
I am.
And where's that street in relationship to 850 South?
That would be on the far right side of the horseshoe, so towards the right side of the picture, and it's going to be the right side of that horseshoe,
And that runs north and south?
north and south.
Okay. What about 720 West? Are you familiar with that street?
Yes, I am.
And where's that at?
That's going to be to the left side of the horseshoe. That runs north and south, and it comes down towards the bottom.
Okay. And finally, 925 South.
925
Is that
south
depicted?
is going to be on the bottom of the horseshoe that connects those other two wests.
Okay, so just in summary, will you describe the horseshoe and what streets make up that horseshoe?
So the horseshoe comes up off of 800 South, and directly south of that, you'll have 850 South, which is going to be running east to west. On the left side is 725 West of the horseshoe, and it comes down into 925 South, which wraps back around to 600 West on the far right side of the horseshoe on the right side of the picture.
Okay. Thank you, officer. You can be seated. Okay. I'm going to take you back to September 10th, 2025. You mentioned you were on campus. You had a particular assignment.
Yes.
Mr. Granado, I'm sorry. We're just going to pull down the exhibits.
Okay.
Thank you. You may continue.
Would you like me to take this exhibit down, Judge?
Are you referring to it in your line of questioning right now?
Not right now, I'm not.
Okay, let's go ahead and take it down.
So you were securing the Hall of Flags walkway, correct?
Yes.
On the south end.
Yes.
What was happening that morning, that day at campus, at UVU?
I came in to do a shift for a special event where we had a guest speaker come in and was going to talk to the students and people around the neighborhood.
Do you know who the guest speaker was?
I do.
And who was that?
It was Charlie Kirk.
Did you see Mr. Kirk that day?
I did.
When did you first see him?
When he arrived on campus, just behind the west side of the Hall of Flags, I saw him pull up.
And can someone access the courtyard through that area?
Yes, they can.
How so?
Where he pulled up underneath the Hall of Flags is a opening to where you could drive a car underneath. So there's access right there. You could walk or drive underneath the Hall of Flags.
And you saw him arrive?
Yes.
Okay. Can you describe what you were seeing? What did you observe?
On that day, I observed Charlie going back, doing some meet and greet with some people, getting some photos taken. He then came underneath the Hall of Flags and went to his tent, and he was there answering questions and talking to individuals that would ask him questions.
The tent you're referring to, is that the tent that we see when it was set up in the courtyard?
Yeah, that white square tent.
The white top?
Yes, he was
Okay.
under that.
Fast forward to about 12:20 or so a little bit after noon, the noon hour. What happened? What did you see and what did you hear?
I heard an individual talking to Charlie, and I happened to kind of glance over the edge of the railing about that time. I could see the right side of Charlie's shoulder, so not his whole body, because he was underneath the tent, so I could only see probably the right side of his body. He was answering a question, kid asked him a question, and then I heard a shot fired.
Do you know what time that was?
Yes,
What time was that?
12:23.
What did you see?
At that moment, I saw him lean to the left, so
When you say him, you see
Charlie.
Charlie?
Kirk. So I saw him go to the left because I could no longer see the right side of his body. So he went further underneath the tent to the north side of the tent, so left.
Okay. Can you describe the reaction of others that were there?
Yeah, so then everybody started getting up and starting to run in more of a chaos kind of situation.
Before you continue, can you describe a little bit? So you mentioned Mr. Kirk was answering questions, talking to individuals.
Yes.
Were there others present?
Yes.
Any idea about approximately how many? How would you describe it in your terms?
In my terms, I'd say when I was up there looking down, I'd say there's several thousand people because you had it on the grass that was jam-packed, in the amphitheater sitting on the grass. You had people standing on the back up along the cement. You had people that were on the second level, the Sorensen, and over by the Woodbury building. There's another level there where a lot of people were standing and watching. So it was pretty packed,
Okay.
several thousand people.
You mentioned you heard something. What did you hear again?
I heard a gunshot.
Okay. And can you describe you described Mr. Kirk's reaction? Was that simultaneous to hearing the gunshot?
Yes, it was.
When he fell to the left?
Yes.
Did you see the reaction from the crowd?
Yes.
What was that?
Everybody kind of got up. They all said, a lot of people were screaming, standing up, and starting to run in all different directions away from the center of the tent.
Okay. You're a police officer helping to secure the area, correct?
Yes.
What did you do?
At that moment, I recognized it as gunfire. I left my post, which was right there on the south end of the Hall of Flags. I proceeded to between right where the Fugle and the Hall of Flags meet. There's some outside stairs that I was starting to run down. As I was trying to get down to the bottom of the stairs, people are running up, people are laying down on the steps. I'm trying to jump over people to get to the bottom of the stairs so I can help stop an individual that's probably shooting.
What happened next?
By the time I got to the bottom of the stairs, I was informed on the radio that we had a shooter in custody. So I thought at that moment, I was like, well, that was kind of fast. Obviously, it was close range probably because we had an individual in custody. Another officer came on and said we had an individual in custody. So I decided to, since the threat is gone, now I can assess for anybody that's injured and start looking for any medical needs that's needed at that moment. I started canvassing the area. As I canvassed the area, I was looking for anybody that was injured. I saw a kid on the ground that was on about the second or third tier in the grass next to a wheelchair, and he was almost convulsing. I thought he'd maybe been shot. Talked to the dad as I was running over there. He said that he was just having a seizure, that he was fine, he was not injured. So then at that moment, I observed that there was no other injuries that I could see at that moment.
Okay. Was your attention drawn to anything else at that time?
Yeah, so after we got some people kind of cleared away a little bit, I thought I needed to start preserving the scene because we had a crime scene. And with some of my experience and training to that effect I decided now we need to contain the scene and help preserve as much evidence as we can. So I started pushing people off the grass, out of the courtyard area because I knew that's where the crime scene was. So as we started pushing those guys out, my chief Long, that was right next to me, I looked down and saw an empty pistol holder that was sitting just on top of the grass. And at that moment, things had died down just a split second. I realized that the shot I heard was more of a rifle shot and not a pistol shot.
And what causes you to say that?
Just from being around firearms through all my trainings, the difference is, a handgun is more of a short bang pop sound. With a rifle, you have more of a longer, violent bang or crackle sound. It's more of a violent kind of sound. It's longer, so that's why I recognized it.
Okay. Is a rifle sound louder typically?
Yes.
Okay. Going back to when you heard this gunshot, could you tell where it came from? As far as direction?
Yes, I knew it came from the east of me.
From the east of you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see this realization comes to your mind. What did you do next?
At that moment when I saw the holster, the empty holster, I turned to my chief and I said, that was a rifle shot. And he said, I agree. And I looked up at that moment, right in the line of sight, I could see the Losee building had a direct line of sight. So I proceeded to go look at that and see what was going on up there.
Okay. Can you just briefly describe your route to the Losee Center?
So from the courtyard, you can go into the Sorensen Center, and like I said earlier, there was on level 1, there's some elevators or there's stairs. I ran up 4 flights of stairs, got to the 4th level of the Losee building, and proceeded to the south of the Losee building. There's some stairs, which is at breezeway between the computer science building and the Losee building. There's some stairs that go up to the top of that, and so I went to the top of that.
Is that the stairway that you previously described?
Yes, on the outside of the Losee building. Just,
Okay. And it's a public stairway?
Yeah,
Okay. Did you make it to the rooftop?
I did.
Do you know about what time you got there?
I got there at 12:44.
Okay. What did you do when you got on top?
When I got on top, I hopped over the guardrail. I noticed that there was an object which was sitting right about 10 or 15 feet in from the other side of the guardrail in the gravel. That looked out of place to me.
And in relationship to where you hopped over the guardrail, what direction was that object?
To the west of the guardrail.
Okay. And did you recognize the object?
I did.
And what was it?
It was a red and black screwdriver.
Okay. Did you touch that object?
I did not.
Okay. I am going to refer the witness on your screen, Officer Bagley, to State's Exhibit 3.1. Let me know when you see that.
Yes, I see it.
Do you recognize what that is?
I do.
And what is that?
That's a picture of the screwdriver that I saw that day on top of the rooftop of the Losee building.
Okay. And that's how it appeared on the roof that day?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate portrayal of the screwdriver you observed and found that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state offers State's Exhibit 3.1.
Ms. Nestor?
Your Honor, we renew, excuse me, we renew our standing objection and object on the grounds that there's no foundation laid as to when the photo was taken or by whom. Thank you.
Same response, Judge. My previous arguments.
And did you state that this was a fair and accurate representation as of September 10th, 2025?
I had said that day. I'll ask it again.
All right.
To the officer. Officer Bagley, you saw this screwdriver you're describing on September 10th, 2025. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is State's Exhibit 3.1 a fair and accurate depiction of that screwdriver that day, September 10th, 2025?
Yes.
All right.
State moves to admit.
I will go ahead and admit, State's Exhibit 3.1 is admitted based off of the first-hand knowledge of this, what this image purports to be, and it is a fair and accurate representation as this item on that date of September 10th, 2025, and this exhibit may be published.
Your Honor, before we continue to publish it and ask a few more questions, right now might be a good time to take a break,
All right.
if that's okay with the court.
All right, let's come back at, it's 10:43, let's go ahead and come back, well, 10:44. Let's come back at 11 o'clock, and then we'll resume direct examination. Court is in a brief recess.